Hi, welcome to Somatic Self-Healers. My name is Leah McQuaid, and I love helping you feel safe enough to fully live. So today we're going to talk about the freeze response. We're going to move from freeze into flow, helping you restore safety, energy, and life force. So we'll talk a little bit about freeze and functional freeze. Then we're going to get into our healing session, as we always do here in Somatic Self-Healers. And I'm going to be using the tuning fork in the central channel today. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the healing portion of our time together. So taking a moment, settling into wherever you are, and we'll just jump right into the freeze response and what the freeze response is. So I'm sure you've heard fight, flight, or freeze as the autonomic response that our nervous system is telling us we're in a state of threat, and fight, flight, or freeze is how our body responds. So freeze is the last option in that sequence. So first, fight or flight is a mobilizing response, right? We either fight or we flee. It's a lot of mobilizing energy. We get out of the situation or we fight the situation, right? That threat. And if it's not safe for us to fight or flee, we move into the freeze response. So it's still active energy within our body. It's still the fight or flee energy in the body. It's locked in. It's constricted, it's stopped, because if we were to run or fight, it wouldn't be safe. So it's interesting because there's some classic freeze responses that show up in our life, right? We feel shut down, we feel numb, we feel heavy, we feel collapsed, we feel far away from ourselves, we have brain fog. And then there's also the freeze response that shows up in a different way. We might still be productive and successful and active and doing our lives, and yet there's a disconnection or a lack of aliveness or life force in the doing. And this is considered more of functional freeze. So there's parts of us that are moving and functioning and working and parenting and showing up. And we might even be performing at a high level. But inside there's a disconnect, there's low life force, there's low motivation for pleasurable activities and for creativity. So parts of us are mobile, and then there's parts of us that are immobile, and we have a hard time kind of mobilizing towards our resources, towards things that we know will help us. But yeah, we have a hard time kind of mobilizing and moving towards those things. So it's this idea that our body is forced to keep going, but we don't really have a whole lot of energy for it. Procrastination can show up here. Trouble making decisions can show up here. We can feel overwhelmed by emotion. So we might feel the emotion or know the emotion. We might know the emotion, but we have a hard time feeling the emotion, right? And we know that we've got to feel that emotion for it to move through. Yeah. So because this energy is stuck, it can feel like we have a immobility in parts of us. It can feel like one part of us is on the gas pedal and the other part is on the brake. Right? And when we want to start moving through this stuckness, when we want to start moving through some of this freeze, it can feel as if we can cling on to our emotions, right? Or we can suppress our emotions. And so we want to start building enough safety in our body to where we can hold a little bit more of our life force, where we can hold a little bit more of that emotions that are coming up, those emotions that are coming up, without feeling like we have to cling to them or feeling like we have to suppress them. And so today, when we work through the central channel, I want to offer an opportunity for us to lean into and be curious about, the parts of us that might start something and then stop it, or the part of us that kind of flip-flops. And just being curious about that can be really helpful to start applying some of these principles in our lives, right? Because of course, awareness precedes choice. So having that awareness around how functional freeze might be showing up in our lives can be really helpful. So I want you to be really curious about that. And what's beautiful about our time together is we have space towards the end of our time, right? Towards the end of these videos and the podcast. Like, we have time to take a few moments and settle into our experience, settle into how these things are showing up for our lives, in our lives right now. Because what's the point of having all this knowledge if we can't apply it? So this work's really about applying, and I assist you. Today I'll be assisting you with a central channel biofield tuning, where we work from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head and back down. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's talk first a little bit about safety, right? So it's about building a sense of okayness, openness, safety. So safety isn't a word that resonates. You can create your own word, whatever word works for you. Okayness or aliveness or openness. Right? So we really want to work with this idea of safety first. Now, safety, you've probably heard me say this before, safety is subjective. So I can't tell you what's safe for you. But what I invite us to explore today is, how might you bring something either into your environment or into your experience right now as you are, that offers a little bit more of safety. So maybe you just look around your space. Maybe you feel the support underneath you. Maybe it's through movement. Maybe you roll your shoulders. Maybe you do a little shaking. Maybe you feel your hips kind of spreading. Maybe you take an exhale. How might you, in this very moment, find a tad bit more okayness, neutralness, aliveness, openness, safety? It could be just by looking around your space and finding something in your space, that pillow that has texture, or that picture on the wall. Maybe you just allow those things in your space to give you just a tiny bit more, or maybe a lot. Maybe it gives you a lot more spaciousness and okayness. And just know how that thing, or practice how that thing might live in your body as a felt sense of okayness or openness or safety right now. And it might just be 1%, it might be 10%, it might be 50%. Whatever it is, just allow that thing in your environment, or how Your pillow under your head supports you. Leaning into what's underneath you. Because I've said this before. So we're not levitating yet as humans that I know of. So there's always something underneath you supporting you. So now I'm just feeling into my feet, finding a little bit of that safety. So safety is always first and foremost before we can, in this case, start to hold some of that life force. Before we can change our current state, right? Which the state here we're talking about is that functional free state. Right? Before we can change that, we have to bring in little glimmers. Deb Dana calls them glimmers, right? So little glimmers of safety in this moment. And these can change and you can build upon these, but this is really the foundation of any nervous system work. Whatever state we want to change, we got to first build in that safety. So just encouraging you for the next minute or so. Maybe you bring in that breath, that movement, that sound. That's it. All right, and so we're going to start with that central channel activation. Inviting you now to maybe close down your eyes, or you can always keep your eyes open. Don't encourage our healing sessions to be done while driving. If you're in the car, stop, that's okay. But these would be useful for a more settled body experience. You can be sitting up or lying down. Yeah. And I'll start with grounding. So anytime we work with the energy, we want to ground. So I'm going to just start with some grounding. Whew. And if you've been here before, you know I do lots of breathing to help move the energy. And so I'm at your feet, and you might start to bring that breath down to the tailbone, down to the feet, helping you ground your energy. Yeah, and I can sense already some of that freeze in the system. Yeah. So what might help here, I'm getting the sense that there's also some fight or flight energy that's sitting on top of that freeze. And that's really common. And if we're intending to help move some of the freeze out of the body so that you can hold a little bit more of your life force, we might want to move some of that fight or flight energy. So you might bring in more of the horsey lips. You might move your body a little bit more before you settle in. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And continuing that breath in and out of the feet. That's it. Continuing to move your body in any way. If your body's asking for movement, for release, for discharge of some of that fight or flight energy. Yeah, that's it. Just bringing that energy down to the feet, grounding it before we move through the channel. Yeah, so you can't do this wrong. Can't make a mistake in doing this work, right? So that's one of the things that holds us back when we're in a state of functional freeze. We might start to move forward and then we get a lot of fear, right? And fear is that closing in, that tightness. And when we have fear of failing, fear of making a mistake, it's going to prevent us from moving forward. But it's also going to constrict the flow of our life force, right? And so when we get into that channel, I'm going to help kind of soften that constricting, that pulling inward of the spine. And so you might just offer your body that chance to pull gently away from the spine. Instead of pulling in, maybe you soften and melt away from the spine. So you're moving away from the spine. Yeah, beautiful. That might feel like a spreading of your muscles outward, out. Yeah. Yeah, great. You might imagine that from your head all the way to your toes, all the way down the spine, the muscles along the spine are moving outward. Yeah. That's it. Good. Almost to ground here. Doing an amazing job. Can't get this wrong. You're here. You're showing up. You're doing it right. Yeah. All right. Great. And so we're going to just start to work the channel now. So from your feet all the way up your spine to the crown of your head, out the crown of your head like a whale spout, and then about 5 or 6 feet on either side, and then back 2 or 3 feet at your feet there. And we're just going to keep going with this motion with that intention of continuing to loosen up that constriction, that fear, right? That that's what I think of. That's what I think of. That's kind of the visual that's coming in around fear and around stuckness and around rigidity, right? Is this, and also what came through is softening the pelvic floor and breathing in that rhythm of the breath. And if you've been with me following along, that's been a theme here recently, is bringing some rhythm into the breath. Because if we think about functional freeze, 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the pedal, it's a lot of stop, start, flip, flop, sort of. It's kind of the other thing that's coming in around that. And so we're just inviting in more flow, more ease. Yeah, there we go. Less rigidity. Yeah, that's it. More ability to feel. Not just know the feeling, but actually feeling the emotion and feeling your body. And that can start with just feeling your bottom on the chair or your back against the car seat or the seat of your car, not the car seat, not like a child's car seat. Or your spine being held on your bed, right? That's it. Yeah, lots of gut issues can come up when we're in this state of functional freeze. So softening your belly. Yeah, and if you notice yourself coming out of your body, or maybe there was a level of out of bodiness when we started, and just encouraging you to maybe come back to your feet, wiggling your toes. Whew, come back to your breath. That's it. And we're going to do this with titration. Right? So we're going to do this with little bits of feeling, little bits of returning back to yourself. You don't want to flood the system. So just encouraging little bits of softening and receiving. Yeah, that's it. And still just working that central channel flow from your feet up to the crown of your head and then out around, and strengthening the boundaries on the outer edge of your field. That's it. Building that capacity to stay with your experience. Yeah, that's it. Uncertainty can have us stop, right? That uncertainty of the future. So just encouraging you to come back to what is certain for you in this moment. You can practice this again and again. Like, what is certain in this moment? Your breath. Each time you breathe, each time you notice your feet and can wiggle your toes. That support underneath you. Are you certain that the bed underneath you is solid and there? Maybe the chair you're sitting on. Can you be certain that it's going to support you? There's a lot of things that we can come back to help us find that certainty in our lives. And just beginning to notice the life force, the charge, a little deeper, maybe just 1%, maybe 10%, 50%. Just notice what you notice about your experience of being in your body in this moment. That's it. And you might only notice for 30 seconds or a minute, and then you might blink open your eyes. So this is titration, right? Blink open your eyes, find those glimmers, the safety we established before we started, the things around your room. Yeah. Just in this moment right here, building the capacity to stay with yourself. Even if you feel numb, numbness is a feeling, it's a sensation. Yeah, that's it. Just allowing the fork, the sensation of the sound in your body, allowing it to move your insides. Bringing in some voltage. But the right amount of voltage for you in this moment right now. We don't want to create that flip-flop. We don't have to bring in a lot of voltage right away. So much so that you go back to the flop, right? So just enough of that voltage that you can hold. So we got to titrate little bits. Otherwise, we just continue the start-stop, the flip-flop. So just holding. Yeah, great. Keep breathing. And if you notice you're coming out of your body, coming out of your experience, just gently wiggle your toes. Make a sound. And in fact, sound can be really helpful here, as throat, belly are two places where the energy of functional freeze can really get stuck. So I encourage you to make a little sound. You might even laugh a little bit. So I love like a good belly laugh because it works the belly, it works the throat. So you might create a little belly laugh, right? Create a little, and you can just make it up. You can just pretend, right? It might be silly. You might be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. But do it anyway. Create that little belly laugh. Yes. Yeah, beautiful. Really good job. That's it, my friends. Beautiful. Let's just do a few more minutes here. We're just gonna work the central channel going up for today. That's it. You might visualize here that central channel, that energy, that life force on these last few moments here. You might imagine each strike of the fork, that energy moving up your feet, up your spine, all the way to the crown of the head, around 5 or 6 feet on either side of you, and then back to the feet. Yeah. Beautiful. That's it. Remembering it's not about getting out of how you are. So we're not doing this session, this healing session to get out of or move away from how you are, but just creating some spaciousness so you can be with how you are. That's it. You might feel some openness, some softening, some spreading once again along the spine. And you may not. No expectations. Honoring your process. Happy you're here. Yeah, amazing. Just inviting in, rather than needing to figure it out, just inviting in curiosity. Curiosity around the freeze response, and curiosity around this life force and holding your life force. Finding the safety within. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, all right. So I'll end here with the 222 fork, 222. Let's see here if I can find it. It must be this one. All right. This fork just makes me exhale and sigh and soften. I love the 222 fork. I've been using a 222. I've been using it a lot. So just inviting in, once again, that central channel flow using this fork. All right, my friends. As usual, it's such a delight being with you. I hope that this was valuable for you in some way. Let the fork go all the way down. Until next time, sending you so much love. Take care.